Sometimes the hardest houses to live in are not made of brick and cement. They are made of comparison. There was a time in my life when I walked every evening past beautiful homes and returned to a government quarter with arguments in my pocket. This is not a story about real estate. It is a story about restlessness and the rooms we build inside ourselves. After a few years in the capital, many people around me began buying houses of their own. They would speak of appreciation value, how the price would multiply 10 times, how at retirement they would sell and upgrade, sell again, upgrade again. The mathematics made sense: security, asset, ownership. But I must confess, I was never good at these mathematics. A house always fell slightly beyond my reach, so I quietly withdrew from the rest, at least in my thoughts, because withdrawal gave me peace. Some colleagues chose another route: rented accommodation, saving the difference from HRA, calculating EMIs with Sunday newspaper property supplements. Those pages had smiling couples, balconies with plants, phrases like "own your dream." Sometimes those advertisements felt like whispers. If you do not buy, you are living a compromised life. To defend myself, I developed arguments. Can you take the house with you when you die? Does ownership travel beyond the grave? The answers were obvious and comforting. So I settled into a government quarter. It was in central Delhi, 1 kilometer from my children's school, 7 kilometers from my office, no traffic lights in between. Convenience disguised itself as contentment, or perhaps contentment disguised my poor financial planning. I calculated the time saved daily, the emergency trips I could make without delay, the minutes reclaimed from traffic. Time, I told myself, is priceless, but children are children. They might use that saved time watching cartoons. Still, I tried to believe I was winning in some invisible way. Then came the blood test. My lipid profile was deranged, cholesterol high, warning subtle but clear. So I began walking, morning, evening, religiously. At first I walked into a small park in a posh neighborhood, too crowded, too circular, everyone moving either clockwise or anti-clockwise like disciplined satellites. I moved to the inner roads of the colony instead. This is when the houses began speaking. Mansions lined both sides of the house, large gates, guarded entries, balconies with hanging lamps, terraces with swings. Cars parked inside compounds, not spilling onto roads like in ordinary colonies. These houses did not merely stand, they watched. And I felt small again. I told myself stories. These families must have been in Delhi for generations. I am only one generation old here. It takes time. But the thoughts returned the next evening and the next. My arguments began to weaken. One evening I decided to stop resisting. If these houses were haunting me, I would enter them in my imagination. There was one particular house, white curtains glowing from inside at night. I have always had a quiet affection for light behind white curtains. The veranda had hanging black iron lamps, the terrace had a swing. Every evening as I walked past, I imagined myself sitting upstairs behind those curtains, looking down at a man walking on the road. That man was me. Gradually, something shifted. Instead of envy, I began borrowing strength. Another house at the corner faced a small park. Its second floor had large glass window and morning sunlight poured into it. On Sundays after my walk, I would sit on a park bench listening to Somerset Maugham's audiobooks. And Imagine I was sitting in that glass room, sun warming my face. The room on the roof, the houses no longer mocked me. They hosted me. My lipids began to fall. My anxiety softened. I could now read the Sunday property section without feeling exposed. Perhaps this was self-deception. Perhaps this was wisdom. But peace returned. I still continue to live in a government quarter. I may continue till for a long time. After that, I do not know. But every morning and evening, I visit many houses, not to own them, not to calculate their value, only to sit quietly in the rooms I build within my thoughts. Because in the end, houses are temporary, promotions are temporary, ownership is temporary, even this body is temporary. But the space we create within ourselves, that small room of acceptance, that may be the only house with a real view. This is Yeningthagi Whispers of Life, a new story every Sunday. Sometimes about houses, sometimes about leaves falling, always about the quiet spaces we live in. If this story found a room in you, I'll meet you again next Sunday.